I grew up with my grandparents. I really didn't grow up with my parents. I grew up with my grandparents and auntie, and Bernice was one of those, and Auntie Lucia, Grandma Berta, Uncle Carlton, and Grandpa Tobias. So I was taught discipline. I learned how to cook, live with my grandparents, learned how to iron my clothes, learn how to again church. That was a key factor. Learn how to manage money, learn not to take something that is not mine. So my grandparents bestow a lot of trust in me. Growing up, it was discipline, discipline, discipline. Education as well follow. So I see the world today is the generation today is somewhat turned around to the level that I'm like, if there was in my time, and I think your time too, Cousin Sherry, was a little bit different than what we see today. But I guess the world rotates, so things turn around. So my grandparents bestow a lot of trust and understanding of the life in me. My grandfather, Tobias, nickname was TK Johnson, was very, very quiet. He was a very quiet man. But you would wonder why his grandson is not quiet. I didn't pick up that trait, but I was able to balance it. I know how to balance it. And my grandmother, they said I was her walking stick. So I was always around Berta everywhere she went. So most of people who know me very well was Berta Johnson walking stick. That's so. Cousin Yvonne, she sees me anywhere. Yvonne at Diggy Beach, she sees me anywhere, and she'd be like, "Hey, Berta Johnson walking stick." So I was her walking stick, and I'm still that stick that is still standing strong today because of the discipline bestowed upon me by them. As I stated previously, the way my grandfather lived, my grandfather lived as a gentleman. He lived as someone who worked hard for everything. My uncles, my dad, everybody got in that family. So hard work. My grandfather impacted me with being a hard worker because he was always when he managed to be well, he was always up on the farm working, between Monrovia and Bomi Hills. And he was a farmer also and a hunter. So my grandfather was a very, very, very handy man. And I don't know what happened today. I'm not too into the handy things in the house because I said these American homes, sometimes you put one little nail to the wall, the whole house will come down sometimes. So I don't like experimenting on things here, but little things my grandfather taught me. Electrical, I did that. Engineering, fixing mechanical things, generator, all those things, I knew how to do it. My grandfather really impacted me with being a hard worker. For my grandmom, she, of course, Berta taught me humanity because the world today, that's one thing I can boast of. I can always say I'm always there helping people. It falls within my career, what I'm doing right now. I help people a lot when I have to and see the need is necessary. My grandfather taught me humanity, how to be good to people. My grandmom, they taught me that, how to be very kind and nice to people and give them help. And when it comes to the hard working, and that I can tell you, I'm not lazy. That came from my grandfather, strictly from Toby Johnson. Bernice Porte. Aunt Bernice, she was a beautiful soul. Aunt Bernice was my great aunt, and she was older than my grandmother, Alberta, and she was the daughter of also the late Joshua Porte. Now, I'm not sure if she was my Evelina's daughter, but I never got that side of history. I think she probably is. I'm not sure on that. But I would ask, so when we do travel, if people ask me, I get no. She had a spirit of a wonderful giant, meaning not too small to say no and not too big to say yes. She also assisted my grandmother that I saw a few times when I was younger with, and Bernie, I think she was also a midwife. She and Berta ran the clinic. I say Berta, but Grandma Berta, I think you all will understand what I'm trying to say. She and Berta ran the clinic, and she was that assistant midwife to my grandma. And I think not the equivalent of people that were delivered by my grandma, but when you ask for Brother Johnson, sometimes people ask for Bernice Porte because she was always by grandma's side. I was told, and I saw a few times growing up, help delivering people through the maternity ward and the little clinic she had up there. And Bernie, one more thing I really like about Bernie, I never understood that mystery of her. She played Ludo all by herself. I have no clue. I have no clue how can somebody play Ludo all by themselves. Bernie never played with anybody else. When people watch this interview, they'll be like, oh yeah, he really knew his great aunt. Yeah, she played Ludo all by herself. Bernie, can I join you? No. And you know her reason? Her reason was, I don't want nobody to say I cheated them. I don't want to say I'm cheating anybody I play. But she entertained herself with Ludo. And Bernie's, this is heavy, but I knew her not to have a biological kids, but she adopted I call her my aunt, Lucia Mason Clark. She adopted sis Lucia and Auntie Sophie, because when Uncle Julius died, Grandma took Dwight Porte, which his nickname is Dogba, and Sophia Porte, and Bernice took Sophia. Those were the two kids, the two people that Bernie, everybody in the community, everybody in most of Monrovia know to be her kids. That's Sophia Porte and Lucia Clark. And both of them are still alive and around today. So a couple of good things I can say. I will come back to tell you more about her maybe later on. Sometimes the interview if something come to my mind. You know, and Bernie stayed in the house. She was just a house person. And she told me that Crozierville was beautiful. Told me about the lemongrass street. Told me about the cemeteries where our great-grand ancestors, Aberport. Yeah, she told me a story about Aberport too, who, excuse me, didn't give a damn about the government. She said that. So, yes, I asked her, so why Aberport so popular than all the other ports? Because she said, everybody does not go in the same direction in life. He chose that path to be an advocate for human rights, and the other ports chose different paths. And yeah, that's how I knew Aberport to be was one of the most popular ports in amongst our family members, and what he stood up for against corruption, and he was an activist. So and Bernie the one enlightened me about Aberport and told me many more stories about my own parents that I didn't know about. And Bernie's fingers is what I call, what some of our friends in our age group today call, well, a while back, call her big finger was chicken soup. Meaning she had a taste. So I'm talking about, let me go a little bit to the upper food. I'm talking about split peas and gravy. That was Sunday. We already never ate palm oil on Sundays. So, and Bernie used to cook split peas and gravy, fried collard greens, fried potato greens, collard greens, and pork chop, you name it. She was the best. She was great. And Bernie was very distinct from amongst everybody. I would say this because it was a condition that she had. Moles. I think people who knew Bernie knew that person was just very different. She had moles all over her body. And I'm not ashamed to say some people were frightened by it, but some people loved her because she was that sweetheart. And a nickname for her, people used to call her Tweet. That's when I first started hearing the word, when I started hearing tweet today, Twitter and tweet. And I was like, well, that's Bernie's name. I was talking to Sis Lucia. I said, well, Bernie knew about tweet long before the people started talking about tweeting and stuff around. They should give her that honor. So that was a nickname, Tweet.
She was the original Tweet.
Yes, she was. Yes, indeed. Amazing, right? She was. So she was remembered for that because she was distinct from amongst all of us. She had that, it was a health condition, I think, moles. Her moles grew. As she got older, the moles grew, and Bernie never shied away from being in public because of her moles. Everybody at the Rallytown Market knew her when she used to go shopping. So she told me this joke about this boy used to live with them called John. And John came from the interior to live with my grandparents. You know, my grandparents had people live with them, and they went to school, to the best of school. And some of these people are today in higher position and better education because of what Bernie's and my grandma did for a lot of them. So Bernie used to go to the market. She told me this story that she said, John, he said, yes, Mom, let's go to the market. John came running outside. She said, but John, what a bag? Then he turned around. Then she turned around to him. Then she asked John, what a bag? Then he said, Mom, which bag? The trousers bag or the market's bag? She said, if you want to bring both bags, you got to bring it because somewhere, somehow, you got to bring the market's bag and your trousers bag. He was just so... The old people have some little, they have some little redhead thing talks in there. But I think you understand what I'm talking about when she was talking about the trousers bag. So that joke, that was one of the fun things I remember her. She told me that joke. Best quality, she could save money. And whenever I need a little extra change, it would come from somewhere under her pillow. And when I knew that she was keeping money under the pillow, I tried to hustle something from under the pillow one time, but she told me about that. I didn't want to steal it. I just wanted to take it because I was feeling. So I was short what I wanted to buy. I wanted to buy a soccer ball, and she said next time just ask for it. And you know, her quality there was being respectful, being religious, not over religious. She didn't pound nobody with being religious, but she told me about the commandments. Thou shalt not steal. You know, and I said, oh, man, I'm not stealing. I'm just taking to go buy my ball. She said, take it, $5. Go buy it, boy. And I actually was going to put it back because I had that ball for a tournament that I was going to buy and name the tournament in her honor that I wish I did. And when I would get paid by the people in the area, that's how I was going to put her money back. And it did happen because I generated funds. That's some of the things I used to do in my area. And she was one of those who told me about the qualities in life of respecting and loving people and, you know, giving you all you can give. And that's some of the things. Everybody was a giver. So that and respectful. That's one of the key qualities I remember of her giving. She was always giving to people. Liberia exposed me to become a man because I was able to get up and find work. I missed my church, Trinity Cathedral. That's one of my best things, serving in the cathedral. It's not everybody get to have those opportunities to serve, you know, as an acolyte, you know, in church. So I miss my church a lot. I miss my friends back home, of which some of them have passed. And I just miss the peace back in Liberia prior to 1990. And I also miss the food in Liberia because I know it's here, but back home we're looking at natural from the tree to the ground. Under the faucet, wash it, and you peel it and you eat it. I'm talking about the plum, or they say mango over here, you know. So, but golden plum. I grew up in Mama Point, Crozierville, and Arlington. So all those places had plum trees around, and that's one of my favorite fruit, plum. But I have no clue why I'm not into eating plum in America, because I ate plum a lot. And the story was told that because of plum, I was able to walk. Somebody peeled the plum and say, hey, come get it. And I was able to take my first 3 steps. I entered the fire. And Bernice even told me that story. It was because of golden plum that I was able to walk. So plum always been my favorite fruit. But I miss the food. Miss going up the rocks. Miss falling down on the rocks. The rocks made us strong up there on Mama Point. I chose a career because growing up, I always wanted to help the world be peaceful, because I said previously Liberia was always that peaceful place, and I wanted to see peace. When the war came and saw what, you know, happened to our military, our police, immigration, not secret service, but special securities, it hammered on me that I can make that change. Because what I'm doing today, I'm hoping in the next couple of years or decade, I can be able to transform situations in Liberia to be better. I always loved law enforcement. I had 2 careers on my fingertip: broadcasting, which I started off on, and law enforcement. And I think law enforcement, I love helping people. I love obeying the rules. I believe people should be given second chance in whatever sometimes they do wrong. So all that falls within this career that I'm in today. And I always wanted to be in the front line. I always wanted to be on the front line in fighting crimes. And back home, I will tell you this: one day, growing up, somebody escaped the jail, the police station, and they were running. I just went in the bathroom. I had to go use the bathroom, and I heard the people saying, "Roll, roll, roll!" And I was a sprinter back then. And amazingly, how I jumped out of that bathroom and ran and tackled that guy and brought him down. And the CID officer, you know, said, "Who took this man down?" Somebody said that he picked him over there. And he was impressed, and he was like, "Wow, you will make a good police director some days." That's why he said straight, "You make a good police director some days." I said, "Oh, okay. When we get to that bridge, we'll cross it." So all those things kept in my mind, and other law enforcement people too, growing up, helped to mold me, into this field. And when I came to America, I met up with another Liberian who's a top brass at where I work today. He also helped mold me into this field, and I told him what I wanted to do. So it was long coming, it was long playing. I'm implementing it. It's kind of, some people say, "Oh, it's not late." No, it's never late for anything. Nope, never late for anything when you put your mind to it. So I enjoy this career, and I plan to take it back home, as I said, a decade or two from now. See what we can do to change the law enforcement. And I love teaching. So one area of me working right now with law enforcement in one of the best police force in the country, and I would say in the world, is me when I do happen to decide to go home. The academy will be somewhere I would love to invest my time, and more young officers coming up in who decide to pick this career. Law enforcement, it comes with more than just carrying a radio, a badge, and a gun. It also comes with discipline, respect, and giving fair share to even a criminal deserve to be heard. You're not you're not the arresting officer, you're not the prosecutor or judge, and you're not the executioner. You are there they install in us as peacemakers. Police officer, we are there to police, be able to help people not to commit crimes, stop people rather from committing crimes, and also those criminals themselves are entitled to fair share of justice. So shouldn't be ill-treated. Like how back home we see sometimes the criminals are not just them, the police go out of their way sometimes and just handle people like beyond beliefs. So that's one area I think police academy training, installing integrity into those young officers will definitely help. Surprisingly, the past January 6th insurrection, we were awarded the the Medal of Valor of Honor. That's what you can see. I have right up here. If you can zoom in, that's the Valor of Honor. We stood against the insurrection on January 6th, and I heard last week the Congress passed another award that's going to be granted to all those who participated in securing the Capitol on January 6th of 2021. That is the Congressional Medal of Honor. That's going to be bestowed upon us, or it's already bestowed upon us, but I think it might be given to us through certificates. And I didn't bring my certificates down, but I do have a couple of certificates. But this just shows, so far I have 2 medals here. This one, it was during the late President George Herbert Walker Bush funeral. So as a police officer, once you're on duty that day, standing to salute the passing of his body to Washington, D.C., we're giving an award for this one. And this is the most recent award I have here, the Medal, the Valor Award for securing the Capitol and standing against tyranny on January 6th. Like what we're doing now, this documentary, because sharing you're putting together, I hope it will be able to teach the future generation that what our ancestors came to this place called Liberia, this beautiful settlement in Crozierville, says a lot about where we are today. You, Cousin Sharon, yeah, you are doing a great teaching. If the generation today and tomorrow can start doing research and finding out things that our ancestors did to put us where we are today. I say this to say because a couple of weeks ago, I was just saying we were down in South Carolina, and I saw a lot of historical facts, historical sites as well that will relate to what we did or where we come from in Liberia. So the generation today just need to be more somewhat respectful. I always like to use that to ask questions, go back something. It's not because the world is changing in technology, so we should forget the oral history parts. We should be learning these things. And I think what you're doing, Cousin Sharon, also will pass down to the generation that they will be able to pass on to their children and their grandchildren to come. So oral history is very important as well. The future generation, books, oral history, digital video, that what you're doing, cousin Sharon, those are things that we have the future generation appreciate what our ancestors did. And I think we should be sharing these things too, so that tomorrow, like, we don't even know how to make bush tea no more. You know, we don't even know how to make pepper sauce, fried pepper. The future generation, we don't even know how to cook. So another thing too, our generation should learn also, and I appreciate too our ancestors, that the secret recipes, the things that were passed down, that we should be able to share those things, so tomorrow the generation can be left out, because many of us are somewhat left out today, because I can't remember a lot of things, because not much were taught, because our grandparents, they had that, not secret, but they did certain things were just kept, in a close bond, that they did not share with us, because it was considered we're not of age yet. And by the time some of us got of age, they have passed. So I think we should start sharing those ideas now. The sooner the better, so the generation can be able to pick up from there and move forward with the mantle from what our ancestors left for us. Back to where I am today, I would say the contribution from our grandparents, and also, our parents, because some other people also were fortunate, to live with their parents. I was reared and trained by my grandparents. Not that I couldn't be with my parents, it's just that they were not at the location in the country at that time, specifically my dad. So my grandmother, I would say she contributed a lot to the Liberian society. Why? Because she was one of the chief midwives that anybody asks about. They would tell, oh, your grandma, brother, grandson. It's like I'm living my grandma's legacy, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. I'm very proud of that, because some people don't have that legacy with their parents, from their parents or their grandparents. And I'm very, very excited to be able to stand out there and boast about Brother Johnson, because she did something for Liberia that many people can stand up today and say, yeah, my mom delivered at your grandmom's clinic. My grandmom delivered at your grandmom's clinic. Oh, my mom had 6 children. All of them were born at your grandmom's clinic. I'm like, wow, my grandma did all of this. And I want to continue my grandma's legacy, the Johnson legacy, by carrying on, always talking about her. Any opportunity I get to speak up about Berta or anybody from that side of the family, I will take advantage of it, because when I go somewhere, sometimes I don't just show up that I'm Heinz Johnson. Peter Harris function I attended, sometimes some people be like, who Johnson are you? Somebody will say, oh, that Joshua's son, my brother, grandson. Yes. Then the whole conversation turned on me now. Oh man, we know your grandma delivered my mom. Oh, cheer. I'll be like, ah. So it's a good legacy she left, and I will want to continue that legacy in my career. As I said, hopefully I will be able to serve here with this department, go back home and be able to impact the generation tomorrow based on what my grandmas and grandparents bestowed, and not leaving out in burnings. I'm grateful to my parents, because without my parents, I wouldn't be here, Carmen and Joshua. But I would still say that they do always say that they happy my grandma reared me, because it was a blessing, and being Brother Johnson walking stick, and I still will continue her legacy, of not just as in the nursing era, but in this career field where I am today as a law enforcement officer. And to the generation that's watching this, if you feel the need to get anything, you're never too old, and it's never too late to follow your dreams and continue just doing what you think you can do. Just do it in the most positive way, because negativity is of course, we say bad luck. But I would say to you once again, thank you, cousin Sharon, for giving me this opportunity to, to show talk about my family, and I really wish we can go back to that era where we came from. This generation can do a lot. It's so much to be done, and what you're doing is also a catalyst to see what we can do for the generation up there to come up and remember. So one thing I had in mind, I think we can come together some days, a couple of months, a year from now, and see if we can all of us can start to see if we can head back home. And the idea came to me when I visited South Carolina. We can have what you call the Lemongrass Street Festival. Why that came to me, because when I visited South Carolina as a South Carolina, history resonated in me. I'd be like, now we're sitting, our history is dying, and we can do this. Why Lemongrass Street is just there. Lemongrass Street can be brought together and we can raise funds. But those kids, the generation that is back home up there in Crozierville, build schools, build hospital, clinics, name it after some of the people that are gone, that brought Crozierville to where it is today, and use the lemongrass tea. That lemongrass, we go to the Asian market store and we buy lemongrass tea, and it's growing up there in Crozierville. We're not exporting it. Why? So we can use this festival, not just lemongrass per se, but we can use that name title, because since that street brings together the whole settlement, use that festival and cousin sharing to raise so much fun and have food contests and basket weaving and you name it. I'm just laying on the table, and y'all can take it from there, or we can take it from there and roll with it. So yeah, I'm very looking forward to us having a Lemongrass Street Festival before 2025.